All right, what is going on, everybody? I'm gonna be reviewing something that I've been eyeing for a very long time about picking up and adding to my home gym, and that is a LeverGym. And specifically in this video, I'll be reviewing which I'm seeing is the most affordable LeverGym right now on Amazon, and that is the GMWD LeverGym. Now they sell this in a red and also a blue color, and there's also the added option of including a bench. So if you guys are on Amazon checking it out, make sure you're looking at the right tab. You're not selecting the one that has the bench. That's gonna add the added cost. So if you guys are interested in picking up this machine, I will link it down below in the description box. Greatly helps support me and the channel if you check out that link, or at the very least, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. There's also timestamps down below to help navigate this video. Now, why I personally have been interested in the LeverGym was because it hits on all the cylinders that I'm personally seeking in my home gym. One, first and foremost, it has to be a versatile piece of equipment. You guys are gonna see some exercises coming up here in a second, showing that you guys can essentially train your whole entire body on this machine. There's a lot of unique things you can do. I'm probably only scratching the surface of what you guys are gonna see in this video. So aside from being a very versatile piece, it's also a very efficient piece in the sense that, again, you can train your whole entire body. The next thing is it has a very relatively small footprint. Honestly, when I put this thing together, it's even smaller than I expected. I kind of measured out the dimensions to see where it would fit. This garage that I'm training in is still a functional garage. I can still drive my car in here. So this thing is great. That doesn't take up too much space. Also, not to mention, if you guys don't have a spot to kind of store weight plates, this actually serves a dual purpose for that. And last, but certainly not least, is that most LeverGyms, particularly this unit, are very affordable. If you compare this to other like multi-unit station type, machine type home gyms you guys find on Amazon that can actually go up in cost, they're not nearly as versatile. They tend to be a little more big and bulky, but they also can be a little more expensive. So the fact that this thing hits in all those cylinders, this is why this has always been a potential kind of thing for me to add to my home gym. And now as far as getting into the unboxing and installation, you guys are seeing it comes in two separate boxes, came pretty quickly. Box got a little dinged up, but where it counts, inside, everything is very tightly bubble wrapped. This thing, nothing is really gonna penetrate the amount of bubble wrap that was covering all these individual parts. Once I started taking everything out of the parts, I saw all the bolts and I saw this manual. I thought, okay, this is gonna be definitely an exercise to put this thing together, and I definitely was getting a workout, especially in this garage as I was getting pretty hot. But I will say, even though it wasn't the easiest thing to put together, it wasn't the hardest either. It does give you a manual. Pay attention, just as long as you organize your bolts and your nuts and everything and your washers, you should be good. It gives you kind of an exploded view. It really was just kind of adult Legos, just kind of figuring out where stuff kind of went. By and large, it really wasn't that difficult. I put this thing all together myself, except for like one little point where I had to hold a couple pieces together, and I had one of my kids just push a bolt in for me. Otherwise, you can do this yourself. It'd be good if you did have a second person, especially if you have a hard time kind of getting arms in place. But the vast majority of installing all these things was pretty much installing the same type of nuts, bolts, and washers in most of this unit. Don't get me wrong, it would be good in their guide if they had a few more detailed instructions and step-by-step instructions on clearly where things were going, but overall it wasn't too bad. They do give you a decent amount of attachments. Like for instance, their rope attachment was actually very cool, very solid. I wasn't expecting a whole lot from this. I think it actually looks better than compared to their picture in Amazon. They give you a little bit thin, but still a decent lat pull down. They give you a kind of a somewhat thin, but again, I kind of like a smaller grip for just doing things like tricep press down, bicep curls. You could row with this thing, but just a regular short handle here. See, they also got storage hooks here for also other attachments. I'm probably gonna pick up some more attachments now that I got this thing. They give you some ankle straps, so if you guys don't have ankle attachments, they give you those as well. And then this probably really isn't counted as an attachment because it really goes with the overall function of the machine, but there is this little squat bar that comes with this unit. But once this thing was fully assembled, like I said at the start, I was surprised how compact this thing really felt. As far as like stability and just safety, this thing does feel rock solid. I think this thing says it's like 200 pounds total. Not really too hard to move around, but sturdy enough that even if you didn't have weight on this, you feel like this thing's not moving. So it's a very solid built machine. They give you guys some little push pins here for added safety on the lever pins that you can interchange. So that's something I'd recommend. It's gonna slow down your workout a little bit, but I definitely would say, just be mindful of that as far as safety. And then the overall function of this, as you can see, you just pull the lever pin out. There's one master lever pin that kind of controls the actual setting of the arms. And then you have this pin that controls the individual arms. So if you want to go with one whole unit doing things, or if you want to take them out individually, they also can be interchanged. I know in some older LeverGyms, this wasn't even an option. Newer LeverGyms that are out there, you now can use each arm interchangeably. So That's definitely a nice added feature. And I will just say, we'll get to exercises here in a second. I found myself kind of using both of them. I would use some exercises with both connected and definitely some unilaterally for individual arms working together. But definitely solid enough where it counts for added protection and safety. That's one of the benefits of using this. If you say you're benching with this thing, you can lower it to a nice safe spot. This weight's not gonna fall on you, or even for like shoulder presses. Pull-ups, if you wanna do things like dips, it's also a really cool feature because I don't have any kind of like dip bar in my home gym, but this is also feeling really solid and secure. I'll also add the spots where you actually put the weight are long enough and sturdy enough, so I don't think those will warp anytime soon. I probably will baby it initially as far as loading up a lot of heavy weight. I have other places to store weight, but this is, again, a really nice solid option to actually store some excess weight that you have, or if you don't have a weight holder, this will definitely serve that purpose. It does seem like a good pulley that they added into this unit. As far as the actual system and how it goes, it works really smooth, feels really good for things like tricep extension, bicep curls, other things you'd use a pulley for. All right, then aside from overall build quality, getting into how the exercises feel on this LeverGym, I was going in pretty confident, just knowing the nature of these machines, that as long as this thing was built properly and feels good, and you really can't mess this thing up too much as far as the basic mechanics. So as long as that was taken care of, I was confident, as you guys are seeing here, the exercise would feel pretty good, and they do. Everyone's gonna have different individual preferences and needs when it comes to exercises that you wanna take advantage of on this machine. You guys are just seeing some of the big kind of highlight exercises that I kind of messed around with. So I did a variety of chest exercises. That's what I want to jump into right away. I tried different angles, even with the shoulders, and different ways of adjusting the bench. And I highly encourage you guys to do that. Mess with the different angles, feel it kind of goes well with you. This thing does arc, kind of more up this way, so it feels great for things like benching, in my opinion, and even at a slight incline, I think it feels the best, but a regular bench also feels great. It would be good for things like chest, where you could actually bring your arms a little closer together and kind of squeeze the top, but given the nature of the design, you can't do that. But still, this machine feels really good in this nice kind of smooth arcing position. Shoulders are also another great exercise, probably one of my favorite exercises on here that I would probably gravitate a lot more to. And I could see if you had bad shoulders, this would be a great exercise to supplement. Not to mention the fact that you can put these push pins at a certain position. So if you're in a weak point of a certain position of a press, you can adjust that. You can certainly do it seated, but I think standing facing the tower actually is one of my personal preferences. I like how this feels. You can make this even a little more multi-joint by kind of making a squat to press. You have different angles to kind of hold on to this pad. I'll also say this pad actually feels pretty decent. Back exercises feel good, and this was a great thing because I never had a lat pull down in my gym. There's other things that I use, like my Saudi men's trainers, that kind of get around different pulley related things with my back, so that kind of covers those bases. But I will say lat pull downs, pull overs feel great. Seated, bent over cable stuff feels awesome on this thing with the cable. I would say one little downside with the back is that you can't lower this thing too far with the lever to get a good angle to do bent over rows. You would need some sort of a bench to kind of get you to a higher position. I would say back, at least for me, and as far as the bent over row position might be the one weak point. But again, it's kind of more in the eye of the beholder and your overall individual needs and preferences. Arm stuff feels really good, and I think that's in large part just going off their baseline attachments that come with it. Feels good as far as that hand connection, but most importantly, how does this pulley feel? Feels really smooth. And the great thing about pulleys and stuff like this, so these are always things you can kind of tweak and change if you really want to improve this a little bit more, but the basic function of the pulley feels nice and smooth with this lever. These pads that kind of anchor your thighs in for things like, lat pull downs feel really good, and I think definitely adjustable enough to fit all sorts of sizes and also different bench heights. So that's definitely a plus. This thing felt great. This lower cable has a lot of versatility and variety for things like glute kickbacks, leg adduction exercises. You can get pretty creative with this bottom pulley if you guys really wanted to. Lateral raises with the shoulder. Getting into legs, you can do things like RDLs, deadlifts are kind of, I would say, a little bit of a weak spot on this machine, but still feel pretty smooth. What I do really love is how great this thing feels for things like squatting in a variety of different positions. You can kind of angle yourself to kind of suit your needs. Also things like drop step lunging and lunging feel awesome on here. Just feels really smooth. Feel like you got a nice kind of groove when you get in the right weight that suits your needs. Also, other things like shrugs, even calf raises can feel really good utilizing this. One thing I would probably advise against, and you guys just take my word for it, I don't know if it's made for it or I did something wrong, but I really try to secure this in as much as possible. I will say I initially got this idea from one of their Amazon videos. I don't see it up there anymore, so that's maybe why they took it down. But they had something on there where you could do back extensions, where you're putting all your weight in this pad and your feet here. That looked really cool. My bar kind of gave away, and I tried it a few different times, even bent this back a little bit to kind of kink it back into place. So I would not recommend doing any kind of back extensions or getting that idea to support your weight. Could be my personal user error, but I just probably wouldn't avoid that. Luckily, I was kind of holding on here. Likewise, I think I saw something else in that video where they were doing reverse hypers, where they were on the outside of the machine and doing something like this. They had all their weight on here. Your feet were kicked in, kicking back. Again, looked really awesome, but I'll just tell you, ever since I tried that one attempt, I'm not doing that again. So that's something that I don't know if they're gonna correct that. And probably not, he's not even really made for it, but I might as well just give you guys that fair warning. While this thing definitely can hold your weight, I wouldn't be sitting on this. They're putting a lot of full effort on this bar. But when it comes to things like these things and they're secure, yeah, these things can hold your weight, no problem. Doing things like back rows or just any kind of body weight supported exercises, with push-ups, a lot of variety you can do with using these lever arms in this secure position. Now getting into some of the negatives, or I think weak points of this machine, I would say just the LeverGym specifically. One that kind of jumps out at you right away is if you are utilizing this for, say replacing like a cable machine, yes, you got the top cable and you got the bottom cable, you got no kind of middle area. So any kind of middle cable related exercise, that's something you're kind of missing out on. This is kind of obvious, but the fact that it is weight loaded or plate loaded, this is gonna take you some time to kind of change and switch up exercises. It's not any kind of like pin type machine, so you're looking for something that out of convenience. You're gonna get a little bit of a mini workout, kind of changing weights in and out. But then again, if you're going to the gym using these types of exercises, you'll be doing that anyways. A practical and I'd say a functional downside to LeverGyms, depending on how much you're using this in your setup. I'm using it probably more in a station-based approach, but if you're looking at like supersetting between exercises, having more faster paced workouts, there are some exercises you can chain pretty well together if you're utilizing that back weighted bar and then these lever arm presses. So I was doing a variety of things with these, and I'd superset to tricep press downs. You also might be limited on the amount of weight that you have, so I actually got to pick up and buy more weight. But just supersetting and transitioning between exercises takes a little bit of time, taking the weight off, adjusting the pin setting, to then adjusting for the next exercise. To kind of sum up the functionality, and also if you guys would get something out of this, how I would really kind of summarize and explain this machine to people, it's like taking those lever-based single unit machines you guys would find in the gym, like the Hammer Strength company. I love those machines. Those are probably my favorite types of machines that are out there that the gym kind of had. Working out in the home, I don't have that. This would be the closest thing to replicating those types of exercises in your home, not to mention on just one single unit. And I would basically say it kind of combines those type of machines with a cable machine. So you get kind of the best of both worlds with this type of unique LeverGym setup. Again, there's a variety of different things you guys can do with it. Personally, I really love this thing. If it's not too obvious, I do like this thing a lot. I was kind of mad I didn't get this thing sooner, although I'm happy I didn't get this thing sooner because before I would have had it in the basement. So happiest I got this thing in the garage. It is definitely a multi-use machine. How I'm personally gonna be using it probably is more in a station-based approach. I'm sure we're gonna gravitate. I already know some exercises particularly that I really like to do on this. There'll be some staples that I'll kind of set up in like a station. So I'll be using this along with my free weights and my sliding bench trainers and incorporating them together. But if you factor in the space, the costs for what it is, and if you already got some excess weight, because that's the other big downside, I guess, is you got to buy a lot more weight plates if you want to take advantage of this. I think this is a great addition. I'm very happy I got this. If I were to start over again with a basic home gym setup, I would get this stuff. A lot of you guys watching my channel already know I'd definitely be getting a sliding bench trainer. I'd be getting a free weight squat rack, adjustable dumbbell, and then LeverGym would definitely be on that top 5 list, at least for me personally, of things I pick up in the home gym. If you guys got any questions, let me know. If anything kind of breaks down on this or starts wearing, tearing, or whatever, I will pin a comment in the description box at a later date. But if you guys have any questions, let me know, and I'll see you guys on the next video.